All right.
Right. So
Yeah, I guess I'm on the air. Hello, everybody. It's a wonderful day for real estate. Does anybody ever ask you the question, how's real estate?
Yes.
And what do you say? You ever get asked the question after you just lost 3 deals the prior day? So there's a one-word response you all can use. I promise I won't get upset. Next time someone asks you, how's real estate? Say unbelievable. It can be unbelievably good or unbelievably terrible. So, and today, before we start, I'm just going to talk about everybody smile. All right, you don't have to show your pearly whites. The smile I'm talking about is the smile of real estate. Right? We stay strong in our convictions and our core values. We stay motivated, inspired, likable, and what do you think the last one is? Energetic. People love energy. We're all like light switches, right? When the switch is off, the power's off. And turn the switch on, we get energized. The more energy we portray, and the more that we smile, right? You smile more in real estate, you learn more, trust me. I've been around a long time. They don't call me the grandfather of real estate for nothing. All right. So how many in here had ever done a buyer consultation? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, 6. And how successful was that consultation? No comments. Okay.
Unbelievable.
All right. The reason we do the buyer consultation is for one reason and one reason only. We want them to choose us as their realtor to represent them on the most single important decision they're probably ever going to make in their lifetime. How many here do open houses? How many here are tired of saying I'm working with a realtor? A lot, right? Even if someone's working with a realtor, I'd like to ask questions to those buyers and ask them different questions. So I want to get a feel for where they are. Is this the first time you're buying a home? Yes. Have you been pre-approved? No. Have you looked at homes before? I guess so, you're here, right? Yes. So what I try to do, not with, if someone's working with another agent, I don't believe in trying to hire someone else's client. I've never done that. I have had people come up to us and say, you know what, would you mind being our agent? Because our other agent hasn't told us a fraction of what you just told us. So knowledge is power, but only powerful when put into action. Please remember, there's a lot of truth to that. And how would we even on a phone? Anybody get Zillow calls? Or anybody talk to a buyer for the first time? What do we say? Anybody want to volunteer? I always ask a buyer because I want to see how truthful they are. And if you ask it in this way, they don't know why you're asking them. And it goes something like this. If I were to find you a home today that met all of your needs, are you in the position to buy it today? Oh, no, we're just looking. Well, if that's the case, my schedule just got really busy. Because if they're not serious, then why should I give my valuable time to try to work with someone that has intentions of maybe buying a home, right? The other question I'll ask them on a scale of 1 to 10, 10 being the highest priority, what is your thought process on buying a home? And I want to hear 10 because I need them to be committed. So I'm going to share them the knowledge and time with them. I would hope that after the consultation's over, that they're going to say, yeah, we want to work with you. Right? Anybody have any questions so far? Please feel free to respond. Okay. So we take it, and the other thing, when you're engaged in a phone conversation with the buyer, I'll always say, look, it sounds like you may need help. And I'm willing to share my years of knowledge and expertise in the industry to guide you through the entire process. And if you're really serious about owning a home, I think it's imperative you know that you should know the whole process A through Z. Would you agree with that? You're all buying a home, would you want to know what to expect before you engaged in it, right? I think a lot of us make mistakes showing people homes when we don't even know if they can afford it or what their situation is. So we offer them a buyer consultation. And the way we say is, look, you're not obligated. Whether you buy through me, Mike, or any other realtor, the information we're going to share with you becomes priceless. And that's how we engage and get them to commit. If they're not going to give you an hour of their time, how serious are they about the process? Right? I guess I hit the button to go to the next page and it didn't work. Okay. So basically, we want to go through the entire process, right? What's the American dream? Home ownership. I always use the phrase, own a piece of America. It's the American dream, right? As we discussed earlier, you're about to embark on the most important financial decision you're ever going to make in your life. And it's important we inform you to help guide you through that decision process. The good news is we're not going to do a Harry Houdini and disappear. We're going to stay with you throughout the entire process. And at Keller Williams, we always do what? We will always work to exceed your expectations. And then some. Okay. And what's this good-looking man's name in the front row?
Hassan. My name is Hassan.
Okay. Hassan?
Yeah.
Okay. So, most buyers don't set up those pillars. Those pillars are what support the chair that you're sitting on. If you only had 3 legs, probably you would wobble over. And before they even go out looking at a home, they should have these 4 pillars in place. You hope that you're going to be the realtor that's going to be that pillar, one of those 4 pillars. We will always tell buyers, look, before we go out and take you to look at a home, and the number one reason why we're doing this, we do not want to show you something that maybe you can't afford, because if we do that, it's going to be very difficult for you to settle on things that you can't afford. Would everybody agree with that? Would everybody agree with that? Yes.
Yes.
Wow, we don't have so many everybody do push. So the big one, we always say, look, in the process, okay, you need to start interviewing when you leave here today. Tomorrow, you need to start interviewing real estate attorneys, not personal injury attorneys, not criminal attorneys, attorneys that specialize in real estate. Why? Because if you hire a criminal attorney, chances are you're never going to get a hold of them because they're in court defending somebody else, right? That's your number one filter. Number 2, you need to have your financial backing. You need to know and feel comfortable with whoever you're going to use with the mortgage process. Now, of course, we'll give them recommendations of who supports us, because we all know them. We all know how they work. The other one is the home inspection. Right? We're in an environment, or we have been in an environment where there's multiple offers. So if they have all these 4 pillars lined up, and you take them out and they find a house, guess what? They know who their attorney is, they know who their banker is, they know who the inspector is, and they know you're the realtor. It's going to make it a lot easier when you do the transaction, because all these things are in place. They don't have to scurry around now trying to find out who they're going to use. All right, we're moving forward. All right. The next thing I do, or we do, is we'll ask them questions, because I want to know, what do they know? So the simple one is, what is the term PITI? We all know as realtors, it's principal, interest, tax, and insurance. You'll be amazed how many buyers say, oh no, right? What is PMI or MIP? As realtors, we need to know the difference between those 2, right? PMI insurance is for conventional mortgages that have less than 20% down. MIP is a mortgage insurance premium that's found with an FHA loan. I believe there's a 1.25 premium upfront cost that goes into FHA that they put in the loan, and then they pay the MIP monthly for the life of the loan. Whereas with PMI, you only pay it until 20%. Right? So that's a big difference. And again, you think anybody else is telling you all this stuff? Is your mortgage interest tax deductible? What's mortgage interest? Well, I mean, you're gonna borrow money, right? The lender that you're giving the mortgage to, they need to get paid, that's the interest. But yes, the interest on the loan is a tax deduction. Is the property taxes deductible? Show of hands, who says the property taxes are deductible?
Up to 10 grand.
Very good, Mrs. Lowe, very good. She's correct. It used to be your property taxes were a complete write. And we on the Northeast and the West Coast got hammered when they put that tax law into effect. Right? Because instead of being able to write off if you're in the Sky or Horizon Heights or any one of the luxury developments, your taxes could be north of 25,000. And you can now only write 10,000 of that 25,000 off. And how much money will you need for a down payment? Very important. Well, a veteran needs 0 down. Mrs. Lowe, I and Abe are doing one right now. And there's no mortgage insurance or MIP on a VA loan. That's one of the things they earn from serving the country. You can technically go as little as 3% down. There are programs out there. FHA is typically 3.5% down. But the normal down payment, would you say is what? What do you think? 5%. Huh? 5, 10, 20, 30, 40, cash. And how much were your closing costs? Buyers have no clue. Closing costs, oh my God, what's that? Closing costs on average can run anywhere $12,000, $15,000, depending on the price of the home that you're buying, right? You got your attorney, you got your title insurance, you got your survey, you got your tax escrow, you got to pay your homeowner's insurance, the first year's policy. Anybody know why you have to do that? Don't answer it, Pat. The reason you have to show a paid receipt for 1-year home policy, right, is because over the next 12 months, your lender is going to renew your homeowner's insurance. So they collect a 1/12 of that payment every month. So when it comes time to renew your insurance, they renew it for you. Why do they renew it for you? Because they want to make sure that if your house burns down, you're covered. Right? And then you have your tax escrow. It'll take anywhere 4 to 5 months. Because our tax payments are paid quarterly. Right? First quarter's taxes are paid February 1st. That covers January, February, March. April, May, and June, second quarter, May 1st, and so on. It's always the middle of that quarter where your taxes are paid. Now, if you were a first-time home buyer, would your head be going like this? That's what we want to do. We call it the wedding ceremony. Because they're not accustomed to all this information. They had no idea what's involved in the home buying process. Okay,
Also, HOA could add up too.
and the HOA, that's not HUA. It's homeowners association. Okay. So moving, she's laughing, okay. Moving right along. Okay, now the pre-approval process, right? How long does that take? If you have all your documents, not long, right? And can they do that online? I can tell you right now, no one's gonna come in and fill out an application. Everything's done online. Does it cost us money to get pre-approved? Carla? No. Costs absolutely nothing to get pre-approved. But that's one of the things that is imperative that we need when we find them a home. We know exactly what they're pre-approved for. And should we get pre-approved for the maximum mortgage amount? I always tell them yes. I want to make you look as the strongest candidate in a multiple offer situation than anybody else. A lot of people will disagree with that, and that's okay. But I like to do that, so when we present our offer to the listing agent, we can say, look, our people are approved for 800. This house is 700. They're golden. And a lot of people will say, well, if you do that, then the seller knows that they can pay more money. We tell them, look, the offer is predicated on a physical inspection. It's predicated knowing that the heating system has reached the end of its useful life. Some people would say, I've reached the end of my useful life. I beg to differ. So I always like to get them approved for their max, because they're gonna say, well, I'm not spending that kind of money. So what do you feel comfortable with? What do you feel comfortable with? What are you okay with on your monthly obligation to that principal, interest, tax, and insurance? And they say, well, we don't want to go higher, 3,000. Is that a gross or a net payment? What do you mean? Well, the gross is before your tax deduction and your interest deduction. So depending on what tax bracket you're in, that $3,000 payment after your write-offs may only be $2,400 a month, and you're now paying $2,500 a month. That's a pretty good deal, I think, right? By owning a home, it's yours. And it's cost you $100 less than what you're currently paying now. Because buyers are what? They're buying. I hate the sense. Any car salesman in the room? I hate to sound like a car salesman, but they're investing in a monthly payment. That's what they are, right? If I told you all, hey, I got a $2 million house, 10,000 down. You can live in it. It's only going to cost you $1,500 a month. 30 years, it's yours. Would you mind that the price tag was $2 million? No, because it was well within your budget. That's what you try to present. Okay. And how much does the actual mortgage application cost? Anybody have any idea? Raise your hand. No? Okay, now you will. Between 1,000 and 1,200, right? Somewhere along there. That's without the appraisal. Then you have to add the appraisal fee on. That's why a lot of times people get cute. I'm not ordering the appraisal for after the home inspection process, because that's an additional cost for a single family home of approximately $500. So now you have your 1,000 to 1,200 mortgage application fee and another 500 to find out if you're overpaying for something. Right? Because your lender becomes your partner. Your partner is the final arbitrator in saying, hey, we'll lend you the money, but we're saying the house is only worth this. All right. Onward. Now that we have all that in place, we know that they're approved, right? We give them some homework. We want you, after this consultation has concluded, when you get in the comforts of your home, we want you to make a home features list. We want to know what you have to have. Not what your wants are, but what's necessary for you to have in a home. What style home appeals to you most? At this point in time, you'd be amazed. People have a lot of buyers have no idea what a colonial split is compared to a sugar maple split, or a bi-level to a raised ranch, or a Cape Cod to a Tudor. So we actually will go online on the MLS and show them samples of different homes that appeal to them. Are schools and location important to you? I love when they say no. You have no idea. I fall out of my chair when they say no, but normally they won't. And what online home sites are the best? Well, of course, we'll have KW.com, right? Zillow, New Jersey MLS, and GSMLS. If you want to start the home search.
Why do you want to know that?
What?
What the best online, why they think, are
Well,
you
what
asking?
we do is we try to key them in on here, here, and here. I mean, we all have that app, right? So you can text the app or email the app to the buyer, and they can basically enjoy looking home shopping, and your face is there all the time. I can't get rid of this guy. He's everywhere. All right. You become ubiquitous with your buyer, right? Ubiquitous means Seems to exist everywhere. All right. We'll move on. I'm giving you the rapid fire anyway. I don't want to bore anybody. Now, making the offer. Has a buyer ever asked you as real estate professionals, how much should we offer? Mr. and Mrs. Buyer, I would love to tell you what to offer, but I really can't. I can guide you and provide you the data to ensure you're going to make a good decision. But if I tell you, well, hey, let's offer them $550 and you don't get it, who has a scrambled egg on their face? I do. And then I'll ask them, do you know what a counter offer is? Is it granite or quartz? No. You guys laugh. I've lived with this stuff, and that's why these questions are there. Some of them will say yes, others will say no, and then we explain what that counter offer process is. And then what is a bidding war? They all seem to. And when the seller accepts our offer, can we entertain other offers? This is really, really important because they need to know that until that attorney review concludes, someone else can come in and buy that out from under them. It's happened to me. I'm sure it's happened to other people in this room. What does ARP mean? Most people equate it to rest in peace. It's not that. Attorney review in progress. Anybody else have a different version of that? No, that's good. We're all okay with that? All right. How long can the attorney review process take? Well, if you have a criminal attorney, we may be here this time next year.
What window do you give?
What's
I say 3 to 10 days, but sometimes, I mean, I've not out in hours.
Yes, and that's why it's important why one of those pillars are their attorney. I think I've said it before. I've told some people here that what we like to do when there's a multiple offer situation and we're on the buy side, we like to have the attorney review accompanied with the offer. So the additional contractual provisions that we put within the contract are now approved by the attorney. How many here have accepted offers based on what was written in the contract, only to be changed during the attorney review process? Gordon, I didn't have my glasses on. How are you, pal? Best looking guy in here. Oh, yes. Oh, yes. So it's imperative during this process that you tell them, look, when we find a home, the reason we need one of those pillars to be a really good real estate attorney, we need to get it in and out of attorney review ASAP. That's going to prevent you from getting clipped. All right, and you know when that happens, it always leaves a bad taste in someone's, right? Okay. So what are the next steps? Anybody have a clue? No, oh, wait, I wasn't trying to be suspenseful. This.
Your favorite part.
This right here. I'm all openly say I really don't have any love for home inspectors. They see it way sometimes. I don't go out to dinner with them. I don't go out to lunch with them. No, they have a job to do, and I understand. But in any profession, we have the good, the bad, the ugly, and the zealots. Stay away from the zealots, because they'll make your life miserable. This process is where most transactions implode. And the reason most transactions implode is because we haven't explained this process thoroughly to the buyer. Does everybody agree with that?
Yes.
Ladies, don't get upset with me because I have to use this in a phrase. I'm going to ask for forgiveness before it starts. I was blessed with 3 children. I was there for all 3 of my children's births. My daughter was born when I was 20 years old on Camp Pendleton, and I had to go to Lamaze classes. Well, at 20 years old, when they were doing breathing exercises, I just found it hysterical. So I would get thrown out of the class. And in Lamaze class, they teach the mother what to expect as labor starts, labor increases, as labor intensifies, and when your wife tells you to get the hell out of the room. It doesn't take away the pain, but it makes the mother feel, okay, I remember this was what's supposed to happen. That's what this is all about. Because anybody got over 100-page home inspection report? Huh? Takes you 2 weeks to read.
Yeah.
Most buyers, when they read through that, they're totally overwhelmed. They said, oh my God, I just bought the money pit. We want to take that away from them. And the way that we do that is, well, I'm jumping ahead of myself. So how much do these home inspections usually cost? Well, if you do a home termite radon, oil tank sweep, sewer line inspection, did I say radon? Chimney. So
Yeah.
level 2. The good old level 2. I love level 2 inspections. They fail every one. Oh, there's a little crack over here. Okay. A buyer can spend upwards of $2,500 if they want to do all these inspections. And that also includes mold spores. Let me tell you, we all live outside, we live in shells. Pretty much mold everywhere. Yes, Lauren.
Don't forget stucco inspection.
Stucco, EFIS, yes, we just had one. Takes about an hour and a half. It's about 795 only. And then let's see, okay. What issues should we be concerned? Well, what if the house has termites? Well, there's good news and bad. The good news is if you're blessed with a house that doesn't have termites, that's good. The bad news is probably 85 to 90% of homes in their lifetime, sooner or later, will get termites. Why is that? Your house has termites. Just kidding, it really doesn't, but I'm using you as an example. So your house has termites. You've got to get it treated. They create a vapor barrier around the whole house. Termites are subterranean insects. They need to get back in the ground, so they do these little wood tunnels. Most people can't see them or know that they're there. Well, I want termites. Oh, yes, you do. There they are. So what happens is the inspector comes, they drill holes, they do a perimeter. Termites that are in the house can't get back into the ground. The ones that are in the ground run to your neighbor's house. And it's just the way it works. So it's not a bad thing. But if there's severe damage, yeah, that can be a bad thing. But in most cases, that's not the case. What if there are cracks in the foundation? Is that a reason to be concerned? Depends on how the cracks are run, right? I think they said the horizontal cracks are more severe, because that means you're getting some type of deflection on the basement wall here to the vertical cracks. And what other items should I concern like ourselves with? We'll move on. Okay. So what we'll do is we'll tell buyers, look, you got to make yourself a list. And the first list is going to be major structural issues, right? What's the integrity of my foundation? Do I have severe termite infestation? Is my roof structurally sound because it's 30 years old when it's only was supposed to give you 20 years, and the home inspector's up on the roof and the roof's going like this, because the plywood's all wet. Those are all kind of structural issues. The second list would be entitled normal wear and tear items. How many people have heard the home inspector say it has reached the end of its useful life? Does that constitute that a seller's got to give you a new heating system? If at the time of the inspection, the heating system's fine and flames in the burner are the color that they need to be? No. And it's incumbent on us when we're showing homes that we point that out to the buyers. I mean, sellers' disclosures are good, but they're not as good as the report the home inspector gives. Right? We make a third list entitled environmental issues. Environmental issues could be underground oil tanks, high levels of radon. Anybody know what the cap is for the EPA on levels of radon? They're measured in picocuries. 4. Yep. Here's what we'll tell the buyer at this time. Look, most people buy a house, they check for radon once. They never check it again as long as they own the home. And you can develop radon at any given time during your home ownership. So if you're really that concerned with radon, it's something maybe you want to test once every 3 years. But the good news is if the level is over 4.0, they have mitigation systems that are put in, and it takes your radon concerns out of the equation pretty much forever. Right? So if the radon test comes back high, they're going to remember saying, hey, we can mitigate that. Usually it's at the seller's expense. So it's no longer an issue. And that's why you have these conversations during this phase, because this phase again is if the deal's going to fall apart, that's why. Okay. And then you make a fourth list titled cosmetic and common maintenance, also known as the honeydew list. It hangs on a refrigerator. I think mine's been up there for 22 years. I still say it can't be done. And these are the things that crack tile, right? How many times you walk up a driveway, you can see the condition of the driveway. Home inspector does his report. Next thing you know, the buyer's saying, well, I want a new driveway. And this is, again, if you address this during the consultation, when you get to the home inspection phase and they start getting a little buggy, you can say, remember we talked about all this stuff. So don't read through the report once, because once you read it through once, you're going to be overwhelmed. Read through it again, start making your list of what your points of concern are and what you should be concerned with, because how many times do they say regrout tile? I got a rip screen. My door sticks. Those are all little incidentals. And then we tell them if there are problems, we're going to get estimates. We see what the cost would be to repair those major concerns. We can either ask the seller for a credit or have them do the work. I say you really don't want to have them do the work, because if they do the work and it's not up to your standards, they did the work for nothing. So let's get an itemized list from contractors to see what the cost to correct these issues are, and we'll see if we can get a credit. Sometimes the seller will do it. Sometimes the seller will make a counter offer to your request. But again, by taking the time and spending a lot of time on the home inspection process, you're gonna close on a lot more houses. And then,
And another thing, I think it's just a butt in second.
oh, butt in, please. I'm getting tired of talking.
I think it's real important that the buyers get the inspection, because when they get that 100-page report,
Absolutely,
they freak. But if
absolutely.
they're at the inspection and they're going through the process of it, it's not as alarming.
Now, I'm not gonna say any names to protect the innocent. I just came off the deal. And the attorney was away down the shore. The agent and myself negotiated a credit. We had somebody on the email chain confirm everything that was agreed to, what the amount of the credit was. Sent it to the attorneys, and the seller's attorney called me up and said, you know, what are you doing? I said, excuse me, did you read the report? Did you read the report? He goes, no. I said, read the report and then call me back. He called me back and said, okay, good deal. All right, so a lot of times the attorney will assist in the process, but if you're always better to be proactive rather than reactive. And if you can work out, Pat, would you agree with that? If you can work out with the other agent and the seller and the buyer, or it goes to the attorney. Because sometimes the attorneys get involved, as Pat said earlier, they were not at inspection. So probably what they're reading sounds a lot worse than what actually is. All right. There we go. Oh, the appraisal process. When you sell a house, do you meet the appraisal? Huh? Sure. If you're the listing agent, do you meet the appraisal? It's not a trick question.
Yeah.
You do. And what do you give that appraisal? What else?
Smile.
Exactly, right? You want to make that appraiser's life easy. Sometimes they're from out of the area and they don't really know. I will personally give a map of where the comps are in comparison to the subject, so they can see that I know what I'm talking about, right? I'll give them a copy of the contract, whether they want it or not. When I slip a bullet, no. Oh. So your lender orders the real estate appraisal on the home you're buying, and then the home must be appraised at the agreed upon purchase price. Doesn't matter if it appraises higher, right? What happens if the home you're purchasing doesn't appraise? Well, there's several things that can happen. Seller can agree to sell it at the appraised value. You can agree to move forward and take more money out of your pocket to make up for the deficiency. Or you can split it, or you can say, if the seller doesn't want to do any of that, you have a right to walk unless you waive the appraisal. Right? What if the appraisal comes in higher than our purchase price? I always tell a buyer, then you have to give the money back to the seller.
They never tell you when it comes to buy.
No.
They never know.
And that's a good,
Yeah.
and you always tell the buyer, look, the appraiser's there, bringing in a value. Unless it was so grossly underpriced, then maybe you'll have an adjustment. Can the real estate appraiser call for lender repairs?
Yes.
Mainly, they're gonna call for repairs on FHA and VA finance. And once the appraisal comes back at value or above, your mortgage commitment should then follow short. Right? Now, is it a commitment if there's conditions on it? Well, it's conditional to me,
Too, yeah.
right? Okay, you can go on. All right, so now it's time for preparing for the closing. Doing your walkthrough. So once you receive the written mortgage commitment, more than likely that commitment's gonna have conditions on it. The bank may say, hey, look, one of the conditions, you have to give us that 1-year pay policy of insurance. You have to provide us with a little more documentation. If it was a gift coming from someone, where that money's sourced from. And once all those conditions are met, the attorney, well, a lot of attorneys will order the survey and the title insurance before that commitment happens, but I always tell them, your attorney's gonna order your property survey, they're gonna order your title insurance, and they're gonna get the closing documents for your review. You'll need to purchase a 1-year insurance policy at closing, and then we set up our first walkthrough. If there were issues that the seller said they were going to correct, you need to allow yourself enough time, right, to make sure that those repairs are done. And I try to do that maybe 5 to 7 days before the actual closing date. And then at the day of closing, you'll call your utility companies, have them transferred into your name. Seller will call to have them transferred out of their name. And then it's closing day. Hold on, let me go out and buy a gift. That's when you do your final walkthrough. You make sure you call the utility companies. That's all done. You call the attorney and ask for your financial figures. How many times? It's like 2 hours before the closing, the buyer still doesn't know how much money. Oh, it's a little aggravating. They sign the closing documents. You no greater feeling to this day, right? When I actually hand that key to the buyer, I still get a little tingles. Because they made it. They're homeowners. That's where, right? They start building thousands of memories with their family and friends, and that's what a home is. The house is just four walls. We, as the occupants, we breathe life into that home. We make that home come alive. And again, at Keller Williams Prosperity Realty, we will always work to exceed your expectations. Any questions? Oh, come on, no questions. Yes.
I actually had two. During the pre-approval part, where you're talking about them with that, many times buyers will say, oh, I don't want my credit run right now, this is gonna affect my score.
I got good news for you. When you go for a pre-approval on a mortgage, it's not going to affect you.
Not at all.
Not at all.
That's all.
Yep. Second question.
The second question was regarding the, surveys, and surveys aren't required. Do you give them any kind of advice or suggestions regarding whether they should?
I-
Sometimes they'll ask me.
I tell them, look, if depends on when the homeowner bought it. The homeowner bought it 25 years ago, I would recommend them do it. Because maybe the shed that the homeowner put on there, or the fence that the homeowner put on there wasn't on the existing survey. And what if all of a sudden, that new survey comes back and shows that you're encroached on the neighbor's property, or maybe his fence is encroached on your property. So I always defer and say, look, you know, they've been here 5 years. I don't think there's any changes. We'll ask them to sign a affidavit. You know, an affidavit for the survey, meaning that there's no changes from their survey. And that's okay. But I think if someone's been there a long time, I always feel more comfortable having the buyer get their own survey.
Thank you.
Anybody else? Yeah, sir.
First of all, great job. Thank you for sharing this with us.
You're very welcome.
When you, were like, when you have them call the four bills, right, their attorney and their home inspector, do you prompt them like with some questions they should ask their attorney when they, you know, you give them a list of somebody, or even they just have people, give them kind of like probing questions that they should ask their attorney or their home inspector?
We will usually give them 5 attorneys. You know what I mean? We'll usually give them inspection companies, but we also say, look, these are attorneys that we know that we've done business with in the past, so we know their track record. Same thing with the home inspection companies, but you feel free to use whoever you want. Maybe your family or friends may have a recommendation, that's fine too. But the questions that you want to ask the attorney, is this the majority of your practice? Is it real estate? Are you doing matrimonial? Are you doing personally? What is the main portion of your practice? That's really important. If they're saying real estate, of course, it's the fee, right? And I tell buyers, don't always be concerned who's going to charge you the least amount, because you get what you pay.
And also, there's attorneys out there that will charge you a lower amount.
But
then
then
once
they,
it gets- then they
for every
add it up.
copy and everything else.
Yep, they hit the total, that helps, and you don't save anything.
And if you
won't make
really perfect your buyer consultation, I will tell you that at the end of that hour, they feel so comfortable with you, they want you to represent them, because no one else took the time to do what you just did. And they walk out of there going, wow. Because it's a lot of information.
Now, you do this only on first time buyers?
I'll do it on someone, if they bought a house 20 years ago, things have changed in the past 20 years, right? So they're used to a home inspection, half hour, not more. And if anybody wants to use that, she can send it in I was gonna say
That
edit.
was gonna be my question.
She can send that in an edited version, and you just have to take my mug out of there and plug yours in.
We'll put on the Facebook page for you guys.
Thank you. Yeah, it's a great presentation.
And then I just want a little big of every deal you get. Nothing.
Do you do this for clients who are coming back to you? Do you do this again for a client that's coming back to you, even though you know they understand the home buying process? Is it a little different if they're a repeat client?
Yeah, what we try to do is basically come in just so I get a feel what's changed in their life. You know, were they happy with the house that they chose? They want a different style. So it's all about relationships, right? I call it the LT, likability and trust. If people like you and trust you, you increased your percentages greatly of them doing business with you. I'm gonna ask this young lady right here. If you do business with someone you don't like, don't trust, I rest my case. So it's all about likability and trust. Just remember LT. If people like you and trust you, they're gonna do business with you. And that's it. And again, look, there's been days I have really, really bad days. And I knew that I had people coming in the next 15 minutes. And I would have to come over here and go, click that turn on switch. And just whatever happened before, I got it put it place. Because people feel your energy. People feel if you want to be here. Right? They want to know that you're interested. And again, I know I repeat myself, it's old age. God gave us 2 ears. You have to listen to what the needs are to supply the benefits. Right? Anybody else? Speak now or forever hold your peace, as they used to say on the altar. Next change, yes,
I got one for you. I'm not sure if anybody else has this question or not, but do you do most of your buyer consultations in person, on the phone? Is it a mix? I know what I do, but just curious, and I don't know if anybody else.
I defer to them. I want them to be comfortable. So look, you're in Jersey City. You can set up a Zoom meeting. I can come to you, or you can come to the office. What would you prefer? It's always the alternative choice, right? If I say, no, you gotta come to my office. Can you come to my office, Sal? It's easy for you to say no. If I say, would you prefer coming to the office? I come to your house or doing a Zoom meeting, what would you prefer? It's a lot difficult for them to then say no. So it's always the alternative choice. Anybody else? Gordon, I know you got questions back there.
Things, even if they gave you the paperwork that it was decommissioned or removed or whatever it was about a year ago when they wanted.
People still do it. Pat brought out a good point the other day.
I think that you guys should, no matter what, perform or have your buyers perform another oil tank sweep, just in case, because it has happened. They removed the oil tank from the front of the house, and now, without them knowing, 44 feet in the back, there was another oil tank. And $17,000 of cleanup for the contamination. So, okay, so therefore, $200, you say to your buyer, I know it's another $200, probably, we know you have it, yada, yada, whatever you want to say. Just to put your head on a pillow, easy, you know, that, 10 years from now, when you outgrow this house and you sell this house, you don't have to pay for something like this. That has been the case.
Correct.
Another thing I wanted to touch base on your thing about, and his pillars of trust, right? 3 to 7 days on the attorney review. What I like saying is, I will try to get you out between 1 and 3 days. The reason why is this pillars of trust, right? For the team that I brought to you, we work really well together. So we try to get in and out of attorney review. Therefore, there's no stress on you leaving the house 3-4 days later, right? So they kind of feel like, oh my God, he's gonna really like try. That's how, and hopefully everything works well, and then they love you.
And also, one other point, when you're in that consultation, you're interviewing them, right?
100%.
Because you need to know who's going to be realistic, who's not, who's going to be high maintenance, who's not. So, although you're trying to get them as a consumer, sometimes the synergy is not there, or you're not feeling. I did a Zoom presentation one time, and I thought I was talking to 2 statues. I came up with some pretty good jokes. They
No, they're not funny.
But I said, okay, well, but they bought a house. So you just don't know, right? But I'll tell you, if you do this, you'll definitely increase your capture rate and you're going to have more loyal buyers. That's
I
it.
think once you make that big commitment to them, it's hard for them, it's harder for them to leave you,
Right.
because you put more time into.
And you gave them information that none of these other realtors were sharing,
I was just gonna say that.
right?
There's some buyers that I've spoken with, they're like, wow, this is so informative. This other guy we worked with never even mentioned it, never even told us our process, so don't assume just because we are professional, doesn't mean the other people are. So capture on that way, yeah, that's how you look at it.
And you'll be amazed that they may have other friends looking to buy, and they're gonna say, you know what? Warren did this awesome buyer consultation, why don't you give him a call? And you get referrals, right? Activity. Call it the ABA, activity breeds activity. We can never be complacent in this business. Always have to be energetic, upbeat, positive. Anybody else want to add any more words? No, all right.
Inspired.
But I thank you for your participation coming in, because I'm a firm believer that if we all work together for the common cause, and I can share things with you, and hopefully you can share things with me, it makes us a better family, that then we can go out and be better advocates for the people who entrust us with their home purchases or their home sales. And with that, you have no further questions. I'm going to the beach.
Excellent, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Enjoy, you know, anybody who wants it, will send it to me and then.